All right, let's get started. So today I want to talk about staying positive. So today we're talking about mindsets. There's been a lot of research done on this, and as you'll know, you can distinctly tell the difference between a positive and a negative person. So I grew up in a household with a very negative influence. My father, he was always a realist. Everybody's heard that before, right? So he was the type of person who was, but before something was about to happen, he would tell you all of the reasons why it wasn't going to happen or why it couldn't happen. And he typically got whatever he thought he was going to get, which was always never what he wanted. So luckily I had a counter influence in the house. I had my mom, who was a very positive person, who always thought the best of people, who always gave people the benefit of the doubt, and she always stayed positive in all situations. And so she typically got what she wanted, which was the positive. Luckily, my father worked numerous hours during the day, usually 12 hours a day, 6, sometimes 7 days a week. So I was around my mom a lot more than I was my dad. So it's easier for me to be a positive person. So being positive is a learned behavior. So depending on what type of people you've been around in your life, you're going to be either more positive or negative. You're either going to be an optimist or a pessimist. But in spite of what you've learned, you can learn different. And so that's what I want to talk to you about today. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over 5 advantages of staying positive, 5 disadvantages of being negative, and then 5 ways to become a more positive person. Everybody ready? All right, so number 1, advantages to staying positive. People who stay positive live longer. Now, this isn't just me saying this. There is actual scientific research that says that if you stay positive, if you're a positive person, if you have a more positive outlook, then you will live longer. There was a study done on this group of nuns, and you might say, why nuns? Well, nuns typically have a very strict life. They eat a certain diet, they have a certain amount of activity, so it's easier to quantify versus if you just took a group of people with some of them who exercise and some who don't, some of them who eat right and some who don't. These are all nuns that adhere to the same lifestyle, so it was very easy to do the study. So they found that nuns that had a positive outlook on average lived 10 years longer than the ones who had a negative outlook on life. So it's scientifically proven you could be cutting years off of your life. My dad is a perfect example of that. He's been going downhill a lot lately. But he also has been saying that he's going to die any day now for 5 years. So, just saying. Number 2, being positive is contagious. You ever know that everybody knows that one person that walks in a room and just lights up the room, right? Kind of like when you see a baby laughing and smiling, you can't help but laugh and smile with it. I mean, if you do, you're the Grinch who stole Christmas, right? So being positive is contagious. And it's also, it's especially contagious in the workplace. Just like it's also, it's the exact opposite, which we'll get to that in a minute. But so it's going to affect your environment. It's also situational. So sometimes it's easier to be positive than others. Have y'all ever noticed that? Yeah. And it's always easier for you to stay positive for somebody else than it is for yourself, right? Yeah. Just saying. All right. Number 3, being positive makes you seem more confident. I just wrote being twice. That's what happens when you try to say it when you're writing. So even if you're not the most confident person in the world, by being more positive, you come off as more confident. Some people will call it charisma, but it's all the same thing. Oh, this chalk's about to die on me. I gotta swap. All right, so number 4, you will look more approachable. You ever notice, you ever just come across that one person that's got that nasty look on their face like they just bit a lemon, and you just don't want to even ask them a question? You're just scared to even ask them how their day is. Yeah. That's what being negative will do for you. It'll make you less approachable. But it's easy to walk up to somebody who's smiling, right? Because you just want to know what it is they're smiling about. What's that secret? Did you just find a piece of candy in your pocket? Why are you smiling? I used to know a guy like that. He was always smiling. Even when he didn't have nothing to smile about, it was like he found a missing piece of candy in his pocket. He's like, oh yeah, that's nice. Yeah. So number 5, you will be more successful in everything. People who are positive are more successful, especially in the workplace, but also generally in every aspect of their life. There was a famous quote that says, whether you think you can or you think you can't, you're right. I think that was Napoleon Hill, wasn't it? Or was it C.W. Sarin? C.W. Sarin. And it is true. Whether you think you can or you think you can't, you're right. So, this is especially true in the workplace. If you go around with a positive attitude, you're going to accomplish more. You're going to be better liked. You're going to be more approachable. You're going to live longer. All right, I'm wiping this off the board. Everybody got this? All right, so now we're going to talk about 5 disadvantages of being negative. Number 1, and this one's pretty self-explanatory. People don't want to be around you. And it's true. People see that sour look on your face, or they see you down and out. Sometimes if somebody's the more positive person in the office, they'll walk over and try to cheer the other person up, but it won't happen for very long if they're not able to right off the bat. So it goes back to that. People just don't want to be around you. Because it's contagious. Just like being positive is contagious, being negative is also contagious. Yeah, the energy that you give off is contagious both ways. Being positive is more contagious than being negative, though, because people will flee from negativity. They will do whatever they can to get away from it. Number 2. You bring other people down, which is kind of the same thing. That's why people don't want to be around you. And that doesn't require a whole lot of explaining because, like I said, it's the same thing as being contagious. Number 3, y'all are going to like this one. You are more likely to kick your dog if you're a negative person. It is scientifically proven that negative people kick their dog. Not something you would think of right offhand, but it is. I don't kick my dog, just so y'all know. I love my animals. And the reality of it is that when you've got all this negative energy pent up, that you take it out on everybody. I mean, that's one of the reasons people don't want to be around you. Even animals. I mean, animals can sense that. They know they're about to get kicked. If you can't take it out on your wife, you can't take it out on your kids, you got to take it out on the dog. For all you animal lovers out there. Number 4. Negative people get sick more often. It's scientifically proven that negative people have weaker immune systems. They are more susceptible to the common cold. You ever notice how whenever David gets sick, he won't never admit to it? He'll never say, I'm sick. He's like, oh, I just got some sinus drainage. I mean, everybody knows good and well he is. I mean, we all know it. But the reality of it is that the mouth has the power to speak words of life or words of death. So if you say you're sick, you're sick. If you say you're not sick, you're more likely to stop being sick quicker. And so I can see why David does it. It just annoys me that he won't admit that he's sick and getting me sick too. Just saying. All right, so now, did we skip one? Oh, number 4 or number 5. So this one pertains more to the workplace. This is you're less likely to meet your goals. Because like I said, the mouth has the power of life to speak life or death. And so if you don't think you're going to get through with it, especially if you have that affirmation out loud that you're not going to get through with it, guess what? You're not going to get through with it. You're going to come up short every time. All right, so now I'm going to talk about 5 ways to be a more positive person. Because like I said, no matter what you've learned growing up, you can learn different. You just have to have an open mind to it. You have to want it. Anything you want, you can have. Number 1, surround yourself with positive people. It's kind of like David's always talking about mentors. You know, get a mentor or somebody who's accomplished something that you want to accomplish and let them show you the way that they did it. It's the same thing. It also goes back to that. You are whoever you are, the same as your friends, whoever you run with. It's the same. If you're around negative people, you're going to be a negative person. It's almost like when you go to North Carolina or somewhere like that, and has anybody ever spent any amount of time outside of the state of Alabama? I mean, more than a week or two? I used to go every summer to this church camp in North Carolina. And I'd spend a month up there washing dishes and working at the camp. Yeah, well, no, it was close to Asheville. It was in Hendersonville. It was about 30 minutes away. But when I first got there, everybody would constantly be making fun of my accent. They'd be like, say dang, or say salt. They'd always be asking me to say words and then laugh at me about it. After a couple of weeks, though, the way they talked started rubbing off on me. So by the time my family would come up for our week at church camp, which is the third or fourth week, my family would be like, you ain't talking right, boy. What's wrong with you? Why are you saying your words funny? Because it rubs off on you. It don't take long, 2 or 3 weeks, and all of a sudden, you're talking different. So if your speech and slang can change within 2 weeks of being around people that talk like that, then why couldn't your attitude also? Yeah. So, like I said, surround yourself with positive people. Number 2, do things that make you happy. Now, this could be anything as small as hanging around people that you like to hang around, or it could be as much as participating in your favorite hobby. Me and David love to go to the driving range and hit golf balls. We very rarely ever do it anymore because we seem to be so busy, but we get a lot of enjoyment out of that, and it doesn't take a whole lot of time. It's usually just an hour or so if we're lucky. Riding bikes, doing things outdoors. A lot of times we get so caught up in everything that we're doing that we forget that we need to have a good time too. If you're never having a good time, then it's much easier for you to start seeing the negative side of things. Because all you see is work, work, work. Kids, kids, kids. So, find something you like and do it. If you don't have a hobby, it's a great time to shop for one. I mean, there's literally hundreds of hobbies that you can get into. A new hobby that it's not new, it's been around for years, but something that's taken on a life of its own is these Lego build masters. Have y'all seen that? I mean, these people are ridiculous. The amount of Lego blocks that they're using to build these things and how elaborate it is. This one woman used her entire living room and dining room to recreate the set of a scene from Lord of the Rings. And I mean, they've got competitions and they've got expos and things of that nature. But she just got to playing with her son's Legos one day and remembered how much she liked it. And then all of a sudden off took this hobby. Apparently it's very therapeutic, putting blocks together and building things, creating things. I don't know. I ain't got into that one yet. So I'm sure after my kids get about 2 years old, we're going to do some Lego stuff. Number 3. This is a big one. Attitude of gratitude. They have scientifically proven that you cannot be negative and be grateful at the same time. It's impossible. You're either doing one or the other not right if you say that you can. So that's one of the reasons that we always want to start our prayers off with the things that we're thankful for. And whenever we get in these situations where we're feeling negative about something, it's an awesome time to pray. Prayer gives you focus about what you want. And if you get in that attitude of gratitude, it's hard to feel negative about what might happen. Because a lot of times that's the problem. We get caught up in what might happen. We let our minds run at all the different things like my dad used to do, all the reasons why something wouldn't happen, all the things that all the ways that it would happen that would keep it from being what it's supposed to be. So it's hard. Which brings me to my next point. Focus on the outcome you want. So when all those negative thoughts start creeping up in your head of how you think things are going to happen, maybe because of past experiences and how they've happened in the past, or how it's happened for somebody else, or just the general way that you know that things are supposed to go, it's easy for us to think, well, this is how it's going to work out. That's how it's supposed to work out. But it's very powerful for you to think about the outcome that you want, exactly how you want it to go down. Even rehearse the words that you'll say when it does go down. And then every time that negative thought tries to pop back up in your head, you walk through the steps again and you rehearse it over and over again. I've done this myself and wound up literally saying a phrase 1,000 times during a weekend because I was nervous. And that negative thought kept popping up in my head. And so to counter out that negative thought, besides the prayer thing, I just started reciting what I was going to say when it went the way I wanted it to happen. It works. Next is exercise. And that almost goes into that whole do things that make you happy. It's most people won't never get into a routine of exercising on a regular basis, but it will make you happier if you do. You feel better physically, mentally, and it is easier to keep a positive mindset. I'm going to add one other that's not on my list. I know that's 5. But last but not least, serve others. It is extremely hard for you to have a negative outlook when you are doing something for somebody else. Just that feeling of being able to help somebody out with something that they're not able to do themselves. I used to love it when I'd go cut my grandma's grass for her. She had a trailer behind our house and she wasn't able to get out. And I'd go down there. It didn't take very long for me to cut her grass, but just that feeling of joy that I was able to give when she would give me that praise of, oh, I appreciate you so much. I can't get out there and do it. And she'd try to give me some money. And I'd say, no, I'll keep your money. Just that feeling of joy. Hard to be negative when you got that kind of joy running through you. So serve others. Anybody got any questions or comments?